it's very tiring and it's very worrying. So you don't want a boy, because he's might be 40, but he behaves like a boy,
Mm.
shouting at you of what he's got to do. I mean, he shouldn't bring that up in the subject whatsoever.
Mm.
Nothing.
King Charles is just days away from a decision that could shape not only his reign, but his entire legacy. The question is whether he will meet Prince Harry face to face during Harry's London visit. But do not mistake this for a heartfelt reunion between father and son. It is far from that. This is high stakes chess, and Charles knows the opponent across the board may be hiding more than words. Rumors have swirled for years that Harry could be secretly recording private royal moments, and now those whispers are exploding back into the spotlight. From Buckingham to Montecito, talk is spreading that senior royals treat every single encounter with Harry as a looming PR trap.
Well, it's worse, actually. Yes, the things that he's demanded, I'll tell you, three things. One is that his father got to pay out of his own money protection for four of them. He wasn't allowed this in the courts because he's no longer a working royal.
Charles is avoiding the phone, not out of coldness, but out of pure caution. One private call could explode into a public scandal, one hug might be twisted into a shocking headline, and a single wrong step could fuel the next Netflix storyline for Harry and Meghan. And let's be honest, Harry has done himself no favors here. Remember, this is the same man who flew in for a quick 12-minute meeting at Clarence House without even giving his father notice before the flight. The king's schedule was thrown into chaos, the meeting was painfully awkward, and once Harry left, the palace scrambled to clean up the mess. After that fiasco, Charles reportedly drew a hard boundary, no private one-on-one meetings, and absolutely no conversations unless a witness is sitting right there in the room.
Number two, the Buckingham Palace have got to deal with the press, any photographers, because they don't want anything that's not friendly and warm. This is for Meghan.
But here's the shocking twist. Even if a meeting were approved, there's a huge catch. Would Harry actually agree to be searched before stepping foot in the room? That's the burning question echoing through royal corridors right now. We're talking about full security checks, pat-downs, scanners, almost like walking through a royal version of airport security. Why? Because the fear is real. The palace worries Harry could try to record the meeting, maybe not out of malice, but as evidence for his own clarity, or, let's be honest, as material to use later. And Charles, who still carries the scars of the Diana media wars, has no intention of stumbling into that kind of trap ever again.
Three is that Meghan has got to be given the HRH, which is Her High Royal Highness. And everybody's got to, from now, curtsy or bow to her. She's done absolutely nothing.
And here's the other explosive layer. Camilla is reportedly putting her foot down. Behind palace doors, she's been firm, pushing back hard against any trace of softness Charles might still feel for Harry. Her fear is crystal clear. She worries that Charles's sentimental streak could be turned against him, that if Harry is given even an inch, Meghan will stretch it into 100 miles. And with Netflix watching every royal move like it's the grand finale of The Crown, the stakes have never been higher. At the very center of all this is trust, or rather, the total collapse of it. Harry has not apologized, he has not walked back his claims of racism, and he has not withdrawn his accusations against Camilla, Catherine, or William. So when Charles looks at Harry now, he doesn't just see a son, he sees danger. The kind of danger that could shatter the monarchy's already fragile image in front of the world.
Apart from being moaning for 72 days when she was there, she hates the royal family. She won't do anything that's helpful. What does she want all that for? It is just testing the king. That's what I think.
And when it comes to public image, it's becoming clearer by the day that Harry and Meghan's entire strategy depends on staying in the spotlight. There's serious talk that this push for a meeting has nothing to do with reconciliation. It may be pure optics, a stunt, a PR move designed to spark headlines, keep the Netflix deal breathing, and pull in fresh sympathy. Here's the harsh truth. Harry and Meghan are reportedly standing on thin ice in Hollywood. Their influence has faded, the media has grown colder, and that big Spotify moment is already just a memory in the rearview mirror. So, what's left to lean on? Royal proximity. Simply being mentioned in the same sentence as the king might be enough to keep money flowing and cameras rolling. And what better way to make that happen than leaking talk of a meeting, whether it's real or not? Charles has lived this before, not with Harry, but with Diana, and he knows exactly how dangerous it can be. The manipulation, the media pressure, the emotional blackmail, this is nothing new for Charles. He's seen these games before, and this time he's moving with extreme caution. That's why whispers are spreading about a strict protocol if any meeting actually happens. No private talks, no tender father-son moments, just cold and calculated formality. A secretary in the room, maybe even a written record afterward to lock everything down. This is no longer about family, it's about survival. And what's fueling the tension isn't only a father and son in conflict, it's a much bigger war over who controls the story. Harry and Meghan are reportedly scrambling for relevance, with their Netflix deal said to be wobbling and their media influence shrinking fast. So, what's the perfect quick fix for their fading star power? The quickest way to claw back attention is to tie themselves right back to the royals, the very institution they so loudly walked away from. Just stir up enough drama to dominate headlines without ever needing to reveal anything truly new. And now comes the Diana wildcard. Rumors are heating up about a fresh Netflix-backed project, one that could put Princess Diana at the very center, and this would not be some gentle tribute. Insiders whisper it could dive headfirst into conspiracy theories, suspicions about her death, and unsettling speculation over who might have wanted her silenced and what the palace may or may not have known. And the most shocking part? Insiders claim Harry is seriously weighing whether to place himself right at the center of it all. The idea pitched as the ultimate trump card could be Harry's final shot at locking in a long-term media future. And who else is rumored to be part of this explosive plan? None other than his uncle, Earl Spencer. Yes, the very same man who stood at Diana's funeral and openly blasted the royal family before the entire world. If this project moves forward, it won't be some soft tribute, it will be a nuclear strike. The kind of documentary that rips open decades-old wounds and reframes history through Harry's perspective. For Charles and William, this isn't just painful, it's dangerous. And William, especially, has always been fiercely protective of his mother's legacy, making this potential project feel like an all-out attack. William does not want his mother's memory twisted or sold for commercial gain. And for Charles, the thought of his own son turning Diana's death into leverage for a streaming deal is almost unbearable. He is already burdened with decades of public judgment over how that marriage fell apart, and this would reopen every wound. If such a project launches with Harry's name stamped on it, the backlash will not stop at Diana, it will come crashing down on Charles himself. And that is exactly where Camilla re-enters the picture. She knows better than anyone the sting of Diana's shadow. For years, she was branded as the villain of that story, the other woman, the homewrecker. Camilla clawed her way out of that brutal image through careful public positioning and an unshakable loyalty to Charles, and she is not about to let it all be undone now. One explosive Diana documentary, with Harry's voice placed front and center, could wipe out years of carefully built progress in an instant. And beneath it all lurks a darker suspicion that Harry isn't chasing closure or truth, but leverage. That this entire Diana project could serve as his ultimate threat. Meet me, or I go nuclear. That's the fear rippling through the palace. And with whispers of crisis talks happening behind closed doors in Montecito, this is no longer idle gossip, it's a deliberate strategy. Harry and Meghan are desperate for a win, and Charles is standing directly in their crosshairs. Now, the royal team faces a dilemma with no good options. Ignore Harry, and they risk him escalating even further. Agree to meet, and they hand him priceless material, quotes, expressions, even body language that could be spun and weaponized for the cameras. Every single option comes with a price, and every move could blow up in their faces while the clock keeps ticking. The palace has learned to study the media like generals study war maps. Every headline, every leak, every photo op, All of it is part of the same relentless battle. That's why, behind closed doors, advisors are urging Charles to stay utterly silent. No comments, no confirmations, no wasted energy on feeding speculation, because even denying a meeting only pumps more oxygen into the fire. And they know one thing for certain: Harry's entire team thrives on oxygen, but Harry's pressure campaign isn't aimed at the monarchy alone, it's also aimed straight at Hollywood. His once shiny image in the industry is fading fast. The world that once embraced Harry and Meghan with open arms is slowly moving on. Their big podcast deal collapsed, their brand partnerships are barely making noise, and even sympathetic insiders whisper that the couple is simply running out of stories to tell. That's why the royals remain Harry's greatest asset, whether he likes it or not. The fear of him secretly recording Charles isn't some wild conspiracy, it's a very real concern. Senior courtiers are convinced that any unsupervised moment could be twisted, repackaged, and weaponized against the crown. And this isn't paranoia, it's policy. That's why whispers of extreme vetting won't go away. No electronics allowed, no private corners, and maybe even full sweeps of the room beforehand. Because Charles isn't just shielding the monarchy, he's shielding himself. William's stance is even harsher. Reports say he flat out refuses to sit in the same room with Harry without a buffer present. That's not coldness, it's pure self-defense. Harry's explosive accusations, especially the claims of racism, still hang heavy in the air with zero resolution. No apology, no clarification, only silence. And inside that silence, the tension grows sharper every single day. William doesn't believe a single word he says will stay safe. He fears every comment could be twisted, misquoted, or clipped into a viral headline. And Camilla, she's no longer just the loyal wife, she's a fortress. She has survived the absolute worst of public opinion, clawed her way back from being branded the villain, and she refuses to let Harry drag her name through the dirt again. Her sway over Charles has never been stronger. Insiders say she's one of the main forces stopping him from giving in to the emotional tug of a father-son meeting. Camilla knows the playbook, she knows the cost, and she is not afraid to hold the line. But Harry's maneuvers aren't just calculated, they're desperate. Sources whisper that the Netflix deal could hinge entirely on what he delivers next. And what more explosive card could he play than Diana herself? Diana is timeless, untouchable, and she still sells. If Harry frames himself not just as her son, but as the living extension of her unfinished legacy, he suddenly makes himself relevant again. Even if it means reopening wounds from decades ago, even if it means transforming grief into content, that's the real tragedy here. This is no longer just a family drifting apart, it's a brand collapsing under the crushing weight of constant performance for the public. Harry may want his voice heard, but the path he's chosen makes true reconciliation nearly impossible. Charles may still carry deep love for his son, but in this climate, love alone cannot survive when the stakes are this dangerously high. This isn't some ordinary family squabble, it's a constitutional hazard. Even if a meeting takes place, it won't be genuine, it will be staged theater. A handshake for the cameras, polite smiles for the headlines, but underneath, the damage is already beyond repair. Trust isn't just broken, it's shattered. And unless something drastic changes, Harry will keep pushing, the palace will keep dodging, and the cycle will spiral on and on. Because in the end, the true tragedy isn't that Charles refuses to see his son, it's that he can't. Not safely, not honestly, not without fearing that the very next word he shares might echo across the entire world. And in a world where silence itself has power,